Good afternoon, everybody. It's Friday yet again. I hope you all have had a wonderful week. It's time for a shop update. Let's get to it. So, worked on 2 cars predominantly this week yet again. And you probably can guess what they are if you've been watching the other videos. It's these 2. Triumph, Jaguar. They're wonderful cars, guys. Really are wonderful cars. Got a lot done on them, though. So we've got some things to talk about. That's what you're here for. You're here to hear me chit-chat about cars. That's what this video is all about. So let's get started. First one, Jaguar. Jaguar. The wonderful quality automobile from Coventry, England. The Jaguar XJS. We've been doing carpet. Christian has been working his butt off on this thing. Lots and lots of work. We started out the week trying to piece this puzzle together. You got to remember, folks, this car came into us in pieces. We didn't take it apart. And as though, although we are very much experts in our field, we work on a lot of different cars. So knowing where every nut, bolt, screw, and panel goes on one of these things while we're pulling these parts out of old coffee cans, if you like jigsaw puzzles, this is a job for you, okay? It's fun. So we started by laying out the old carpet, and we laid it out in the car. And what happens is you can figure out where all these panels go by matching the new panels to the old carpet panels. What you'll also find when you do that is you'll find there may be some panels in your new carpet set that don't go anywhere. We never figured out where those panels go. There's 2 of them, no idea where they go. There's not an old version of that panel anywhere in the car. So, what do you do when that happens? Well, here's the thing. That can happen a lot. This car, this Jaguar, this beautiful cat of cats, 12 cylinders of pure purring power down there, that thing was made from the mid-70s to the mid-90s, okay? They made this car for a long time. There were a lot of changes throughout its production run. Although it is technically the same car from the mid-70s to the mid-90s, they changed stuff. They made different. I mean, there were different engines in this thing. I think they had 3 different engine options in this thing over time. 3 different engines that went in it anyway. So you're going to have some variations. And as much as it would be great to pinpoint every time they changed this bolt from being yellow to being silver, or this panel from being vinyl to being carpet, very few people know exactly when those changes happened. And a lot of the times, the factory records either don't reflect when that change happened or aren't accurate in their reflection of when that happened, or the record is lost. Because a lot of times they just throw these records away. They just get rid of them. So, what that means is that an aftermarket manufacturer, if they can't pinpoint when something was changed or when something was done, what they do is they just kind of make a uniform thing. So they'll make a carpet set that works for cars from 1988 to 1991, okay? Even though there may be changes, and they may add extra panels, which would explain our 2 extra panels here. Now, knowing my luck, I'm going to tell you guys all about how these are extra panels and they don't go to this car. And somehow, in some way, shape, or form, there will be like something in the car that we'll realize after the fact, oh my God, that's where those went. That does happen too. So it's a fun puzzle. That's what these things can be sometimes. Even when you do take them apart yourself, sometimes it may be months, even years, when you go put them back together. And you may have forgotten where they went. And you may have forgotten where certain stuff went. So you have to go back, and that's why we save so much reference material that people look at and say, this is a catalog for a Jaguar parts company that's been out of business for 10 years. Why do you save this catalog? Because it's got really good exploded viewed pictures. It has really good diagrams. It's got really good this, that, and the others. So We call that reference material. We save a ton of reference material to help us piece these cars back together. That data is not necessarily always on Google. Can't always find it on the internet. So sometimes it's good to have that stuff available for you to reference. That's why they call it reference material, because you can reference it. Christian's been doing well on this. We've been having some trouble with glue. This carpet, the new carpet set, has a very thick, heavy rubber backing, and it doesn't like to conform and contour to the different things that are going in the car. So, glue's been a challenge on this one. Lots of clamping, which we don't tend to need to do on carpet set installs. Lots of clamping, lots of heavy weights, lots of pushing and holding things in place for long periods of time. But we're getting it. He knocked out, this is the rear cubby assembly. This is all done. All the carpet's on it, hardware's on it. The lid's finished. You see the lid right here. Somebody put green tape all over it. Thanks. You're protecting chrome? It's chrome. It's a really hard metal. What are you doing? We put green tape on it, and now the green tape won't come off, so we got a lot of work to do with that. But we may have to take it back off the panel and run it through the polisher and scrub it with soap and water and all kinds of fun stuff. But he's got that knocked out. You can see here the panel here and this panel here. These are actually not original Jaguar panels. These come off. This is actually the gap filling panel because we lowered this. If you remember in the last couple videos, I mentioned that we lowered this down from the original placement in the car. That panel indicates how far we lowered it down. So we had to make up those panels to fill the gap, or else you would have been looking at the window motor and the regulator and the back window, and nobody wants to see that stuff. I don't want to see that stuff, and I work on these. So we made filler panels. They're all carpeted up. That's looking a right treat. He's got some other stuff glued in there. He's doing great. Anyway, as I switch hands here, you're going to see this hand dance around now. Next one. Let's switch again. Triumph TR3. It's looking more like a car, isn't it? More and more like a car. Every time you watch a video, it looks more like a car. Now this side, I gave you an update on last week. So it has not changed much. Sill's still looking great. Floor's great. I went to the driver's side this week. The car has been flipped around. That's why it looks like it's in the exact same spot, but it hasn't moved, but it has. It's driver's side. I worked on this side this week. 3 major goals that I wanted. Let's get down in the nitty-gritty here. Okay, 3 major goals. This cowl, this piece right here is called a cowl, in case you want to know. This cowl was actually up. So if we looked at it from behind the car or in front of the car, this cowl was actually twisted upward compared to the other side. So we got 2 options. I can either push the other side up, which wouldn't make sense. And here's why it wouldn't make sense. Because I knew that this side was the side that was out of whack and was up, because this gap right here at the top of the door was huge. It was enormous. So what I did was I welded a pull point right here, which is usually just a piece of scrap metal that you have that has a hole through it that you can put a hook on. All right? I put a pull point. And then I heated this metal right here. And as this metal was nice and hot and toasty, and not lava red or anything like that, just heated up, I used a strap, a ratchet strap, pretty heavy one, and I cinched that down. Cinched it down actually to the frame cart here. The frame cart does have, or the body cart does have pulling points that work very, very well. And I pulled this gap tighter and leveled out this cowl. It was a decent amount of work. Kind of scary because you can screw up a very expensive panel very quickly if you don't know what you're doing. But I do this for a living. I know what I'm doing. This is my job. I'm supposed to know this. Second thing that we did was I did a lot of sill work. Now, initially, I didn't want to address the sill on this side until I had the floor in. But when I noticed the front sill piece here, the front inner sill, it was actually pushed up as well. That may explain why the cowl was up. We're connecting some dots here, aren't we? So this looked like it had hit a curb pretty hard. And what I mean by that is that the front wheel hopped over a curb, the curb was underneath this, and the car landed on the curb with its sill. It pushed this way up. It actually tucked the entire piece, rolled under the car. It's pretty bent up. You got two options there. You can try and fix what's there, which is always the option that I try to take first. But in this case, looking at it, not only is this like 10 gauge steel from the factory, so it's pretty heavy duty stuff. It's also a box section, so it's really hard to pull straight. What it wants to do is it actually wants to rip off of this panel right here, or it wants to deform and bend outward, which we don't want to do that either. So the best plan that I had was, well, we'll cut off this front section of the sill, which is what I did. Cut it off and remade it in its entirety. I have some holes that I need to drill at the bottom here for the fender mount, but remade this in its entirety. Now, why would I need to address this before I address the floor? Well, the inside of this panel, the floor rests against it. And if we're pushed up, that means that when I put the floor in, the floor will actually sit up higher than it needs to be sitting. So to get the floor in the right spot, I need to make sure that this is in the right spot. So my initial plan was to do the floor, of course, but once you start looking at some of the problems on the car, you start to realize maybe jumping into the floor wasn't the right option for the first thing to do. Maybe we should address what the floor mounts to first, and then we'll go to the floor. The other side was the opposite way of that. I didn't need to do a lot to the sill, so I put the floor in first, and then I did whatever repairs I needed to do to the sill afterwards. You got to be fluid. You got to be kind of open to changing your game plan. There's no set guidelines on how to do this. So you need to make sure that you're thinking about things. If you see something that's out of whack and you see another thing that's out of whack, they may be connected. It may be, corresponding. It hit a curb down here. It pushed the cowl upwards. These are all connected, so that's a possibility. So I've got that done. I also, while I was here, there was also a big impact point right here, which was the shaking a lot. Sorry, that impact point. There was one further back. It may have hit two curbs. Double whammy, right? In this instance, this one was a little bit easier to address. I cut out some of it. I could straighten some of it, and I only had half of the outer sill cut out. Which is the piece that you can see here. This is called an outer sill piece. This is an inner sill because it's actually hidden and it's inside, and this is an outer sill. This is a visible piece of the car when you're all finished. So the outer sill, I only cut half of it. And I thought, I could get away with replacing just half this. I decided at the last moment, just replace the whole sill. So I replaced the whole sill. However, all of that work meant I didn't get the floor in. So the floor still has to be put in. It's just resting in here right now, just sitting. It needs a lot of cutting and modifications and some other stuff done. It also means that I have a big gaping hole here. This is the toe board region. I cut all of the toe board out. So I need to replace all of this as well, which I had to do to the other side as well. But we are close to hitting kind of a plateau with this, where all of the rust, all of the body damage, major body damage, has been rectified and fixed. Then it's on to little stuff, hammer and dolly work, door gaps, panel gaps, shaping things, making sure they fit well with each other, making sure there's not too much tension on fenders and the doors line up nicely and that hoods are closing as they should. We got a lot of work ahead of us, but there's been a lot of work done. So, what's next? What's next for the shop? You guys are getting tired of me telling you updates on two cars that are, may not be your thing. When am I going to get to any of this other cool stuff that's here? Give it time. Give it time. I definitely want to get back on the Lagonda LG6 here soon. A lot of stuff for this is actually out at the machine shop right now. So, kind of want a half dozen of the other. There's stuff I can be doing on this car for sure, but I almost want to have the engine done and in the car before I start doing some of that stuff. MGA, I really want to get back on this car. This car is going to be a really cool one when it's all done. I think the owner's going to absolutely love this thing when it's finished. I really want to get back on board with doing this. I don't know this for a fact, so don't quote me on this. I think we have a seat kit for this. If we do, yeah, it's on my list. Because the seats, once they're in, this car gets out of here. That means more space for more cool stuff. Other cool stuff, because this is a cool car. More space for other cool stuff. Anyway, keep yourself subscribed. Like these videos when I put them out. Hit a bell notification icon when you see it, when you find it, when you can find I can never figure out where that thing is. I'm sure it's right in front of my face. If you find it, click it. That way you guys can know when I post out one of these hilarious videos. And then you can watch it. You know, you can drop what you're doing right then and there because the notification will go off on your phone or on your computer or whatever. And you'll be like, oh my God, that video, then he's got another video out. Let's take a look. And you should drop whatever it is you're doing to watch the next video or this video or whatever video that I put out. You should drop whatever you're doing to watch it. Why? It's important. And I do mean drop whatever you're doing. If you're in the middle of performing brain surgery, just stop. Just stop whatever you're doing and go watch the video. Actually, on second thought, don't do that. If you're in the middle of brain surgery, you're probably smarter than that. So finish up, you know, stitch the person shut or whatever it is you do. I don't know what you do. Pull the drill out. I don't know. I don't know how brain surgery works. You know, finish and then go watch the video. Then go watch it. All right. It's been great, guys. Have a great next week. I will see you again on Friday. Bye.